you guys doing? I'm Chris Ignato. So today what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about a Dakota fire, show you how to build one, and tell you a little bit about why they're cool, why I like them so much. It's pretty much a great fire for stealth camping or a stealth fire if you're in an area where you don't want to leave much trace, or you're not allowed to have a fire, or it's windy. Okay, the Dakota Indians used to build these things out on a prairie, and it would protect it from the wind so the wind wouldn't catch the whole prairie on fire, you know, blow the fire across the dried grasses and start a fire. This is basically an underground fire. You build two chambers, a hole in one spot, decent size for your firewood and everything, and a smaller hole beside it, and then you connect the two together, so in essence it's shaped like a U underground. Fuel and fire goes here, and the oxygen gets drawn in through here. It's a fire that makes very little smoke. It can build up a fair amount of heat. You know, it's somewhat concealed, doesn't produce a lot of light. It's not a great fire for keeping warm, but it's a good fire for cooking your food and boiling water with. Stuff like that, okay? So let me start digging one. Often you have to use a digging stick. That's what I've done a lot. Today I'm either going to use a digging stick or some kind of shovel or something, so let's see what I can do. Now I'm choosing this location here because the ground's fairly clear and it's moist. We're right next to a stream bed over here, so it's going to help reduce the odds of spreading the fire or catching a root underground. You got to really check for stuff like that, okay? So in the interest of saving time, I've got this little shovel here that I'm going to use. And I'm going to dig up this plug, and I can actually keep the plug intact to save it later on to cover my hole back up once I've poured water in there and made sure that the fire is thoroughly extinguished. So there we go. There's the two holes I made. And I had to be careful not to dig it too deep or too wide because, as I said, I'm not far from a creek bed. And this will fill up with water, which is a great way to kind of filter some of your water, some of the sediments and all. You can get relatively cleaner water by digging a hole beside the water bed, or the stream bed, letting it fill up with water, then letting it settle so the sediment goes down towards the bottom, and then skimming off the top. But then I'd still boil it, just to be extra safe, to purify it from, you know, microbes and stuff like that, Giardia. See, there's the hole connecting it. See what I'm talking about? Can you kind of see that? So it's connected. So now I just got to go collect firewood for this. And I'm going to use a bunch of that shag bark from the shag bark hickory, because that stuff burns pretty hot. Really hot once it burns. It's better than most barks, except for, say, birch or whatever. Okay, so I just found a downed black cherry tree, and these trees have bark similar to birch, so it's got some flammable oils in it. I could pretty much easily get a fire going with one of these, so I'm going to chop a little bit off with my knife and collect some of this bark to get my fire going. It should work pretty well. Should work. Okay, and I got some hickory from over there. So there's a piece of birch I collected from a downed birch. So what I'm going to do now is scrape it into a little pile here, just to catch the spark from this, just to save time for the video. There's a million ways to do it, but this is nice and quick. Okay, so now I'm going to fill my hole with some of the fuel for the fire. I'm just going to stab it in there vertically. Tons of it. As I said, this is the hickory bark. And I got a pile of twigs over here that I'm going to use. Nice dry twigs, so it burns well. Efficiently. The drier it is, the less smoke you'll have, by the way. Okay? in case you don't like smoke or something. Sometimes the smoke's good to keep away insects and mosquitoes and the like. Sometimes it isn't good. I always put my tools away as soon as I'm done using them, so I don't lose them or step on them or anything like that. So there we go. See it spreading already? Got some smoke from the birch, but that's normal. Oxygen's being fed through here. It's already starting to rain out. Also, something you want to do is make sure you don't have any roots sticking out of the walls that can smolder. You know, once you put this fire out, those roots have been known to smolder in fire pits and fire rings, sometimes for months, and then it reaches the tree and catches into fire. So you got to be really careful with that kind of stuff. I made sure there's no roots in here, and as I said, I did it next to a creek bed, you know, where there's still water. So this ground actually has a lot of moisture in it. When I was digging my hole, I started reaching the water table. The water table started filling up my hole. So I had to, you know, quickly build this thing. But I did that so that I wouldn't have to have an increased risk of spreading fire. So another cool thing about this fire is it burns really hot. All that heat is reflected right into the middle. So you can build a grate or a grill out of some green sticks and actually boil your water or cook your food right over it. Or if your hole is built the right way, you can actually put your pan or cup over it. As long as it gets that oxygen in there, you're good to go. There's a good amount of heat coming out of this, channeled upwards. Okay, so once again, Dakota fire. Really cool stuff. You've got kind of a low profile, especially once the big fuel is burned down. Doesn't produce a lot of light. People don't see it from a distance. It's very little smoke, as you can tell. There's not much smoke going on here. The oxygen is pulled in through this hole and feeds the flames in that hole. So as you see, I put just a little bit of fuel in there, and this thing burned for 11 minutes, and I didn't even add more fuel to it, so it's fairly efficient. As I said, the walls, you know, reflect the heat back into the fire, so it's really good. But now the next step is always be responsible. When you're done with your fire, thoroughly extinguish it. So I brought a whole thing of water just for this purpose. Cool off the ground around it. Let it cool off a bit and then repeat the process. Now it's steaming. Look at all that steam coming out of there. So guys, you can't even tell that there was a fire pit along here. Filled it back up with the mud, spread some leaves about. These bare patches that you see there and there, they were already there. In fact, they were more bare because of the flooding from the storms that we had recently. And I just sprinkled some dry leaves, not moist ones, over these spots to not attract more attention. But you don't want to do it too well because that's suspicious too, if you were trying to be really stealthy. But that's unlikely. You don't really need to be that stealthy around here. Well, yeah, you do. So that's the Dakota fire. Great stuff. I'm Chris Ignato. You're just watching Earth Skills Handbook, and feel free to hit like. If you like my video, subscribe to see more videos, and please question or comment below. If you have any improvements to make on it or questions or anything like that, please go ahead. I love connecting with people. Chris Ignato, signing out.